So, welcome to everyone. So great to have you cooking with us again this evening. I am Fiona and I'm a part of the Beautifully Fed Food team. I always have to slow down when I say that. And I'm so excited to be back here cooking with everyone this evening. I am going to be your sous chef and tech assistant this evening, and I am going to turn it over to Karen, who is already busy in the kitchen, so that she can introduce herself and tell you a little bit about Beautifully Fed Food.
Sure. Let me do that, and then I'll put it back in the oven. Hi, everybody. I'm Karen. Joseph Chef Feast. I'm one of the chefs and partners of Beautifully Fed Food. And Beautifully Fed Food is a collective of women of color. There are 8 of us now, and we're committed to eliminating health disparities through food, one delicious bite at a time, through the plant-based cooking classes and demos that we teach. And most of the time, our classes used to be back once upon a time in person, and we've learned to pivot to a virtual platform because of COVID, and we're really excited that we were able to, so that we can still stay connected to our folks. So this has been a lot. It's been a learning curve for sure, but it's also been a lot of fun, and we thank WorkWell for allowing us to be part of their work and to be here with all of you. So hi. And Key, tonight we're cooking in honor of Thanksgiving or Thanks-taking Day, depending on what you call it. It is still a day of thanks, and we eat food in my family, especially on Thanksgiving. And so we're making one of my favorite. I love stuffing. I've never made this before. My stuffing is a traditional stuffing. You know, when I say my stuffing, the stuffing that my mom used to make when she was still with us on this plane was bread based. But I don't always want to have all. I feel guilty eating all the bready things as much as I love them, and so I figured, well, let me make one with all the flavors of mom, but without all the bread. So let's try it with farro, some mushrooms, some kale, or some other greens, and then all the herbs. So that's what we're doing. So hopefully you'll be making it. Go.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, so I know we want to turn it over to Marisa to say a few words about WorkWell, and so maybe, yeah.
Sure. Well, Karen finagles. I'll just say, for everyone, I see some new faces. I see some familiar names. Welcome. I think this is a unique Thanksgiving for many of us, and I hope that maybe that will invite some folks to create some new traditions and maybe try a stuffing recipe that hasn't been, on your family table in the past. And even if it's not for Thanksgiving, who says you can't have stuffing another day of the week? But, on behalf of WorkWell NYC and our Eat Well program, which is all about healthy eating and building community around healthy eating, we're really glad to partner with Beautifully Fed and to offer you these sessions. And I always say, I don't want to talk for too long because I want us to get cooking. So Fiona and Karen, take it away. And hopefully, Karen, we can hear you when you come back in.
Okay, so Karen, where do we start with our first?
So start with your potatoes. Sorry. Make sure that they are cubes, all around the same size. You want them semi-small, about an inch cube. And then you want to spread it into your pan. I drizzle it with avocado oil. You could also use coconut oil. I'm suggesting oils that have a high smoking point because we want to roast them at 425 degrees. And any oil that doesn't have a high smoking point will start to break down. For instance, olive oil does not have a high smoking point, and so if you put it in at 425, it'll start to smoke on you, and toxins will develop and be released into your food, and we don't want that. So use a high smoking point oil, and then you just leave that in there for about 20 minutes. Fiona, I'm going to ask you to ask me to check in about 5 minutes to see how the potatoes are doing. You'll know the potatoes are done because they'll be nice and tender on the inside, and they'll be maybe a little crispy on the outside. We want a caramelized finish, so it's nice and sweet, and also a little tender. So that's the sweet potato. Then we have the farro, and as I just described it, I have mine in a pot of boiling water. I then added the farro, and it's cooking along. And now what I'm getting ready to make with all of you is the mushrooms. Mushrooms, we want to saute them. And does anybody here love eating mushrooms, or maybe doesn't like eating mushrooms and is thinking about eating? That was me. I never liked mushrooms. I thought I didn't like mushrooms. I didn't like the idea that they were fungus or fungi. And I wouldn't touch it, like wouldn't have it. Then I had ended up having breakfast at my girlfriend's house one day, many years ago. And she made eggs. And then I tasted the eggs and I was like, this has a very interesting flavor. What is that? And learned that it was fungus. I was like, wait, that did that? And ever since I've been cooking it up. And so there's a key to cooking mushrooms though, so that they have a nice texture, so they aren't slimy tasting and things, which is what I always shied away from. You really want to saute them well. So we're going to be on the stove with these mushrooms for a good 20 minutes. I wanted to give us time, so that's why I made sure to prep everything ahead of time. And also the key to coaxing out the flavor of the mushroom is to fry it in like medium high heat. Don't touch it is key. And then the other key is you want to add a little bit of flavor to it. So we're going to season it up with some salt and some herbs. Herbs really kind of bring mushrooms to life, and I love adding dried thyme to it. So we're going to do that. So even if you don't typically like mushrooms, I'd encourage you to try making it this way. I think you might like it. And then we're going to add the flavors of Thanksgiving into the stuffing. So I'm calling it stuffing loosely because I'm adding all the things that I love about a stuffing, which are the onions and the celery and herbs like sage and thyme and rosemary. That's the only thing that's very similar to stuffing in this, except that because there's no bread. But the farro, I think, will mimic the chewiness. That's why I love farro. It's got a real chew. Like I always say, it's the grain that bites you back. You take it, like it's just there's something to it. It's this give and take. I love it. So there's that, and then the chewiness of the mushrooms as well. So again, I'm calling it stuffing loosely, but either way, it's going to be a delicious situation that you'll love. And the way that we're going to make it, we've got the sweet potatoes going, the farro going. We're about to get started on the mushrooms, and then the only other component to this is your greens. If you're adding some kale or maybe some spinach, if Fiona will let me borrow hers, and then we're going to add egg to it to bind it all up together. I'm going to mix egg with a little bit of vegetable broth. Put it in, if your pan is big enough, we're just going to put it all in the same pan and bake it for 20 minutes and we're done. But the brilliance of this is, even if you don't feel like baking it as a casserole, you can eat it straight out of the pot as is. It could be your own little farro bowl with mushrooms and greens and all. Yeah, it's going to be delicious. And maybe it will be like stuffing.
Okay, so we have a couple things that came up in the chat. Thank you for that, Karen.
Sure.
So Jen is asking if canola oil is a high heat oil. I mentioned that yes, it is. Karen, I know that you don't particularly like to use canola. Do you want to share why you don't like using it?
It is high heat. I try to stay away from any oils that isn't pure plant-based. So I like plant related, like avocado oil, coconut oil, like it's clear where that's from. Canola, what's a canola? What's a canola plant? What's that made of? So yeah, I'm skeptical of all things. And I remember reading actually once that canola oil was originally made for like manufacturing plants, and manufacturing in industry. So not for human consumption, and that always worried me. So I just stay away from it. It is high, does have a high smoking point. But in terms of its nutritional value overall, I'm suspicious. So That's why I don't use it.
And then when you're cooking farro, should you cover it?
No. You cover the pot of boiling water to get the water to boil quickly, if you need to, and then you remove the lid and just cook it. Okay.
Great,
and then you'll need to taste, and then you'll have to taste it to see. And depending on how much water you have, it might float to the top or it might be at the bottom. Me, I've got a really big pot and very little farro. So all the farro is at the bottom, and I'm about to rinse it. And I don't need to rinse it, but I'll need to, I'll need to strain it in a little bit.
That was
Cool.
your 5-minute timer.
Okay. Thank you. Sweet potato time. It's sweet potato. Ooh la la. That was the magic 5 minutes. Thank you, Fiona. You get to see what this looks like. Yeah. Yum, yum, and yum. I'm so excited. Clear off. So this is what we want. You see that? So even some dark spots. That's when the sugars really got together.
Can you tilt it just a little bit more, Karen, so that we can see those sweet potatoes? I was smelling the rosemary when she was preparing these potatoes. What, do you have rosemary, or was it sage that I was smelling?
I think it was a sage. I've got both, but right now I'm just a sage and thyme right in here. Can you see this? You see the party in my pan? All right, I'm gonna put this to the side. Whoa. I'm gonna grab my power folks. Who else is cooking with us? And how are things coming along for you? I'm gonna taste this since I can. Anybody?
Karen, I need you to do me a favor. I need to spotlight you when you're over at the stove. Can you go back and show us the potatoes? Sorry about that, folks.
Yeah. That's okay.
Now I understand why we weren't seeing it so clearly. There we go. Now we see those potatoes.
Yay! Beautiful. So this is what you're going for. You want it to be nice. And again, the key to getting it like this is to spread it out in your pan and not have all the potatoes touching each other. You want them to have room to breathe. And then you leave it alone. You leave it in a hot oven, 425 degrees. And we had it in there for about 20-25 minutes. Okay, and so since I'm here now, I'm gonna drain my farro. I tasted it, it's nice and tender. And so, and it's sitting at the bottom of this pot. So I'm just gonna add it to my strainer over here. You can't see me, but I promise I'm here.
We can. You all, this is like, Where's Waldo? Do you all know that that children's book? This experience is like an episode of Where's Waldo. I'm chasing Karen, trying to find which camera she's on.
If she's on a camera at all.
Right, then there's that.
Then there's that.
So right now we're going to have both cameras spotlighted.
Yeah.
That way we don't miss a thing. So where is everybody? Are we following along?
Yeah.
Are there any questions? Just checking in to make sure that everybody is okay. Those of you who are cooking with us.
If you're making something different, what are you making? We want to know. Just to be nosy.
We haven't started the kale and the mushroom yet. We're still just preparing. We've done the sweet potatoes. We're preparing the farro now. And then we'll move on to the next steps.
Exactly. And the next step is the mushrooms. Okay, the mushrooms are all done. And Fiona, did you say, or is it all right if I use your spinach, your beautiful spinach that's in the fridge?
Sure.
I may opt to add that. Not all of it, just some. Thank you. What ends up happening, I would say you can use like just about any greens in this, but you want it to be a real sturdy green, something that has some body and will hold up in the oven to the heat and still taste like something. I was really, I ended up buying arugula back then because I had arugula on my mind because I just had arugula for breakfast and it was really good and I finished the last of it. And so I'm in the grocery store looking for sweet potatoes and kale. And I came back with sweet potatoes and arugula. And I was like, wait, something is wrong here. And the thing is, arugula would typically work if I wasn't putting it in the oven. But because I want to put it in the oven, I worry that the arugula will come out like a soggy mess and won't be as as nice as we want. So, but I definitely encourage you to use other greens that you have at home. Collards would be really nice, some Swiss chard. Folks, what do you have at home that you might put in this? It's not kale. Anybody? Anybody?
In the meantime, I want to just give a little bit of a preview of the steps that are coming up. So right now we are sauteing the mushroom and then the kale. And that's going to be done over medium heat with the fennel seeds. So, you know, we'll get that going with some other ingredients. And then we're going to actually assemble the stuffing with the different components that we have so far. So the sweet potato, the farro, the green, the mushrooms, the greens. We'll actually assemble the sweet potato, the stuffing, add the egg to it, and put it in the oven. So that's just a preview of some of the steps that are going to be coming up in case you're cooking with us and want to know where we're heading next.
Precisely. Thanks for that, Fee. That's exactly what we're doing. And right now I'm cutting up the rest of my onion that will go into the mushroom mixture. So what I did was I halved it, and now I'm making slices, vertical slices, going from the root all the way down, being very careful not to cut through the root because the root is what is holding my onion intact so that it can do this funky thing and not fall apart, right? That's how you make it so that your onion isn't flying all over the kitchen when you cut into it. Once I make the vertical incisions, then I'm going to take my knife and make a horizontal one. And depending on how thick your onion is, you might be able to get 2 or 3 slices in. And then from here, you go like this because we're going to make a small dice. Voila. So I'm going to cut my onion, and then I'm going to cut the rest of my garlic, and then we'll be ready to saute some mushrooms. Can't wait. So good. And then if you find that this usually results in a pretty uniform dice. However, if you find that it's not as too big, you can always go back over with your knife.
Imani, I was thinking about the sound as well. Like the audio really is pretty good because I could hear every every cut of the onion. Yeah.
Awesome, yes. Yay, that's awesome. Go technology. When it works, y'all. This is fantastic. All right. So we've got our onions, and the onions are nice and crisp and juicy. I'm going to add them here. And then I'm going to cut up the rest of our garlic. The recipe calls for like, what, 4 to 5 cloves of garlic. I think I already have 4 or 5 cloves of garlic already chopped, but I had a few extra cloves, and I want to show y'all how to do it. So I'm going to add more. And both Fiona and I love garlic. There's no such thing as too much garlic. So we're just going to add it all in here. Ta-da. All right. Time for garlic. And then once the garlic is done, we're going to go over to start sauteing our mushroom. I'm so excited. All right, so for the garlic, I simply take a clove and then smash it with my knife. It helps to open up the skin, so it's easier to peel. It also helps to like release some of the oils from the garlic, so it kind of wakes it up. And the key I've learned that with garlic, you really want to let it sit after you've cut it, so to allow the enzyme allicin that's in there to do her magic. So there are a lot of benefits that folks know about garlic. One of them is its immune boosting properties. And the thing though is for it to really have those properties be alive and awakened, you need to let it sit after you've cut it. So you don't want to like cut it and then go cook it right away. The key is to just like, but even for 5 minutes is a good thing. So I'm taking off removing the germ and taking off the ends. All right, so now I'm chopping it.
So I just wanted to get people caught up in case you joined a little late. We are doing a sweet potato, kale, and farro stuffing. The sweet potatoes. The sweet potatoes have roasted. The farro has already been boiled. And so right now we're getting ready to saute our mushrooms. And if you need the recipe, I'll repost it in the chat right now.
We gotta do it, but don't do it. You're not gonna be able. You're not gonna catch up because it's too far.
And if we're hearing some background noise from you, from your square, I may mute you. But please do unmute yourself if you want to chime in with a question or a comment. We love hearing from you.
Yeah, provided it's us you want to talk to.
No worries, Elizabeth. It's okay.
No worries. All right, people, garlic is done. Onions are done. I've got my celery here. I also have my herbs already chopped up. This is the thing. I happen to be using some fresh herbs because I happen to have fresh herbs at home. So I've got thyme, parsley, rosemary, and sage in here. Because I'm using the fresh, I'm going to add the fresh like towards the end of cooking. If you have the dry though, use them as it says in the recipe, which is pretty early on, because the heat will help to release the flavors. So I'm going to grab my things and I'll see you at the other camera. Okay?
Thank you. Look at that.
You see, look at that.
Y'all.
I'm learning. All right. So I got my pan on. I'm putting this on medium high. And now, because we're not roasting for a long time, we don't have it on super high heat, I can use my extra virgin olive oil because I do love extra virgin olive oil and the flavor it imparts. So I am using that here to just add a little bit of, actually, you know what? It's fine. I wanted to put my fennel seeds in. I want to do it in a dry pan, but I can still put it in here. But whenever you're using dry herbs, it's always good to add your herbs to the pan first to help to like toast it and again release some of the flavors. But a pan that's dry, a pan with a little bit of olive oil, it's not going to hurt it. We're going to be just fine. Put that in there. I'm actually going to put my thyme in here too because I told you how much I love thyme and mushrooms. Like it's a whole experience, y'all.
And for those of you who want to have the measurements, so it's 1 tablespoon of fennel seeds. Of course, you should just really adjust to your taste, but the recipe calls for a tablespoon of fennel seeds, a teaspoon of dried sage, a teaspoon of dried thyme. Is that about it, Karen, for the mushrooms? Let's see.
Yeah. There's also the onions and stuff that's coming later.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For the dried herbs. Those are your measurements.
Those are your measurements. Now I'm just waiting for my pan to get hot. And then I want to add the mushrooms to a hot pan. I want to hear it sizzle. And I need a thing. So where are we? Sauteing, fennel seeds, olive oil. I want to get this going. And then I'm going to add my onions and my garlic and my celery, and then it'll really start to smell like Thanksgiving up in here. I can't wait. Who here has been experimenting with fennel or fennel seeds since the last class? What are you finding out? I love it for the taste of it's the taste of, it reminds me of star anise, or that licorice type taste, which is in the sausages, which is surprising, but it is. And so it gives me the feeling of meat or sausage, even if I'm not having it. And it just is so satisfying to me. I really enjoy it. I'm looking for it. There it is. Good. So I can mix you up. We're fine. I can smell the aroma of the thyme, and I see it starting to sizzle a little bit. So it's time for me to add my onions.
There's that sizzle that you're looking for.
You hear it, you can hear it. And my celery. Ooh, the garlic is also like way down there.
So checking in again, who's cooking? How's your pot coming along? Have you started with your mushrooms? I know, Yvette, you're making soup. Elizabeth, did you mention that you're making this recipe with us this evening?
Mm, that smells really good. Who's that? Did they say? Oh my God, y'all. This smells so good. Okay.
Hi, this is Yvonne.
Hey, fine.
Hi, Vaughn.
So I'm watching, but and I have a desire to do more vegetarian. I love vegetables. I grew up on vegetables, but of late I found out that I have a cross reaction due to allergies to just about everything.
Mm.
So I'm limited to string beans. I can have cabbage. I can
Mm.
have okras, and I can have,
Mm.
and that's the extent of it.
Okay.
So an onion. So basically,
Onions.
garlic, whatever. Most of the things you're using, even the
Mhm.
herbs and spices, I have an allergic reaction to fruits, vegetables. So that is my malady, and that's one of the reasons I logged on here to see if I could find some ideas, because right now my meals are extremely limited, and it's very frustrating because I have always just coming from the islands.
Yeah. I thought I heard an accent. Where are you from?
Yeah, Barbados. We
Yeah.
grew up with a vegetable garden, and so there isn't any vegetable or fruit that I don't love.
Okay.
So if you look at it now, I cannot eat an avocado anymore. I can't
Mm.
eat cucumbers anymore. Can't even have a mango anymore.
What are you? I know it's hard not to lament with you. But what are you eating that you enjoy?
Well, right now I'm not even enjoying it anymore because this is
Yeah.
about 2 years that I've been limited to. My sister made a song of it: string beans and cabbage.
Yeah.
That's the extent of it. At times, I used to, and I think that I found that I used to be able to have spinach. I used to be able to have broccoli,
Okay.
one of my favorites. And then I noticed that
Mm.
it's a matter that if you have, let's say, a ragweed allergy, or like in my case, it's ragweed, grass, mugwort, and the other one I forget. So basically, anything with that DNA. So for the ragweed, it would be anything like zucchini, melons,
Okay.
the different squash, things like that. So and the list goes on. So I'm just looking for ideas to make. So that's why I've been silent, just
Yeah.
watching, because in my mind, then I have to celery. Cannot have the celery.
Okay.
Cannot have the potatoes. No potatoes.
Okay.
So I'm just the farro. I've been curious about. So I'm just going to
Yeah.
basically watch and then figure out what little bit I can do. So also having to manage my sugar intake, my salt, and the just
Mhm.
a lot of little limitations. But so if I don't chime in, that's why. It's because I don't have much of anything to add. I'm just looking to see what I can take away.
Yeah. No, thank you. That is a great contribution, because I'm sure there are others here too who've suffered or suffering currently with food restrictions and allergies and such. And so it's really good for us to know where you're coming from, and that you're still here and finding some comfort in figuring out what's possible for you, right?
Yes, yes. What
Yeah.
is really interesting is that what I never noticed that I had an issue um,
What?
is primarily because I was feeling for many years sick and sickly and tired and
Mm,
drained, and just a general sense of malaise that I could not explain. So, and if I think back to even to my youth, when at first it was chronic fatigue, then they said maybe it's because of your thyroid,
wow.
you know, but it was not chronic fatigue. I do have a thyroid issue, and, you know, but once that was gone, the tiredness pretty much remained. And then it was about 2 years ago that I decided to have a food allergy test.
Okay.
And even I lived off of peanuts and any kind of nuts. I just fruits, vegetables, nuts, things like that.
Wow.
And then I learned that I had a reaction to all of those things. So as I eliminated them, I started to realize, because what would happen is I would get home from work and I would crash, and I would not be able to I just barely make it to my door and fall out on the bed. And then it just kept getting worse and worse. And then
Got it.
when
What
I
happened?
started to eliminate the items, I
Mhm.
noticed that I would wake up refreshed in the morning.
Wow. You noticed a difference?
Yeah.
About how long was it between switching your diet and noticing a difference? Effect?
You know, even now, if I digress, like last week I had some potatoes. After 2 years I needed to have some. And
Wow.
what happened is I realized it takes me about three days to a week to get it out of the system completely. So I remained sluggish for quite a few days. So I mean, it's not worth
But
it.
right, but then when you stop eating it again, your body springs back, right? And you get your
Exactly.
energy back.
Exactly.
Look what a testimony that is.
But
I know the sacrifice though.
yeah, I came to decide though it isn't worth it, because the amount of time it takes to recover,
Yeah.
it affects the quality of life. So I just wanted to put it out there because, you know, I'm finding out that as I mentioned it to other people, they were able to go, you know, do a test and find that some certain things were creating a cross reaction, you know, as a result of allergies.
Yeah, thank
Got
you
it.
so much for all of that, Yvonne. Hopefully someone else who's on here, if you've been feeling chronic fatigue or any of the things that Yvonne just mentioned, think about elimination as Yvonne did. Think about the
Mhm.
things in your diet and just starting to remove things little bit by little bit and see how you feel. But that is so amazing that you were willing to share that, because it really, I'm sure there's at least one person with us this evening who's going to benefit from that.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely. Thanks so much for sharing, honey. I hope you get some tips and some ideas and things you can try. One thing I would ask.
Karen, can I ask you before we move on, can we just get back to the recipe? So it looks like you have
Yeah.
sauteed your mushrooms in with your onions and your garlic and your herbs. Is that where we are?
Herbs aren't in there yet. I'll add them at the very end, but I've got the garlic, the celery, and the onions in here. And I didn't put all of the onions in. I actually started taking some out because you have to really recognize what the size of your pan is and what your pan can accommodate. Because again, you don't want to overcrowd your mushrooms. You want to give them room to caramelize and to get brown. And if we have too much stuff in there, it'll start to sweat and steam instead of browning. So I ended up turning the heat up a little bit, and it is starting to brown on me. So I think we're good. And now I'm just going to leave it alone. Again, the key to getting your mushrooms to be nice and brown and not soggy is to let them be. So put them in a pan. If I had more time, I'd actually take more of the garlic and onions out. So again, if you haven't started yet, you put very little garlic and onions at the bottom, put your mushrooms in, or simply put your mushrooms in a pan without the onions and the garlic. We can add that in later, because what's key is to brown your mushrooms. Cool.
Perfect.
And so now I'm getting ready to go. You're welcome. Now I'm going to get my spinach. So I'm going to the other camera. Hi, catch me if you can. I'm just going to take a couple of leaves of this.
By the way, does anybody use these green bags? So these green bags have been a savior to me, because I don't use my vegetables, my produce as quickly as I would like. And of course, you want to use them up as quickly as you can, because the nutrients start to diminish the longer you have them. But when you have a busy lifestyle, sometimes you don't get to them, and these green bags really do help to keep them fresh.
Cool. So how long have you had these greens?
What are they?
In the bag, Fiona?
So that spinach has been there for about, when did I go grocery shopping? Well, actually not long. I went grocery shopping on Sunday.
Okay.
So those haven't been
very
there
good
that
shape.
long.
And somebody was asking about the composition of the green bags, like where you get them from. What can you tell us about that?
Oh, so you can get them at the grocery store. You can get them on Amazon, online, wherever you shop. Yep, they're pretty accessible. And yeah, some of them are actually called green bags. I think there are a couple different brands, but I think one of the brands is green bags. I'm gonna look that up to make sure I am not fibbing.
And these are sold at the Park Slope Food Co-op, where you remember?
They are sold at the Park Slope Food Co-op, where I'm not able to shop right now. Green bags, yes, green bags is one of the brands that's out there.
Beautiful. I bet you're on Amazon too.
So Karen, she's off camera right now, washing the spinach.
So yeah, use whatever greens you have. Again, you want to make sure that it's a hardy green that will hold up to the heat. Hold on, let me close this back up. Who's cooking with us? How are folks doing? Can we come into your kitchen and see what's going on? Yvette, is she making the soup? How's the soup coming? I want to see. I was hoping I could taste Fiona's soup from last week, but she ate it all. It was a week ago.
She came over a week later asking for soup. Like, do any of you still have the soup that we made last week? Like, what is that about?
A girl can be hopeful. What can I say? Oh, I want to come over and take a look at my mushrooms, okay? So you might want to turn them. Yay. Yeah. Ooh, they're getting nice and brown, y'all. They're beautiful. Oh, wow. This came out really well.
So Elizabeth mentioned that her mic isn't working, but she is playing around with the stuffing and making pizza for the kids at the same time.
Good.
She is really
doing it all. I love it. Wow.
And remind me, is there anybody cooking behind the scenes? And, you know, I mentioned this last week, but we do just invite and encourage as many of you who would be comfortable turning your camera on, because we're just kind of hanging out and cooking. And we would love to see you and to connect with you, because this definitely isn't just about the cooking. It's not just about the recipe. It's so much about the connection, which is so important right now. So if you are comfortable turning on your camera so that we can see you and connect with you, we would love that. Ooh, Elizabeth says it smells wonderful. She used dried herbs, and putting them in first really released the aromas.
Right? That aroma is everything else. So I just added my fresh herbs, like we're towards the end here. Because now all I need to do is chop up my greens and then mix up my eggs. I'm gonna turn my fire down a little bit.
Thank you for turning on your camera, Roseanne. It's good to see you.
Hey, Roseanne.
Good to see you too.
Yeah. Hi.
Soup from last week got rave reviews in my house.
Yay! I'm so glad to hear that.
Especially that topping. Wow.
Right? I want the topping.
That topping was so good.
It was so good.
Awesome. All right. Okay. This is going to stay there.
I'm starting to smell it, you guys. So I can't wait to try this. I am locked away in the bedroom and Karen is in my kitchen, and the aroma is coming to, I mean, it's not like I live in a mansion, but the aroma is coming through.
Awesome.
I'm in the East Wing and she's in the
Yes.
West Wing, and the aroma is coming through.
That's exactly how it is.
By the way,
I love it. So now I'm just going to, how does my recipe say that I should be preparing this? Does it say to like cut it into ribbons or just chop it? We're gonna cut it in ribbons. No, we're gonna
Can you
chop it.
actually, Karen, can I get you to
Yeah.
move the strainer over?
Yeah,
Thank you.
like so. Better. See, I think I'm chiffonading it right now, where I'm cutting it into these ribbons, but because we're not eating it like a salad, we're gonna be eating it as part of the stuffing. I'm gonna chop it up a little further so that you don't have a forkful and then a long ribbon coming out of your mouth. So we're just gonna go ahead and chop it. You hear that? It's nice and crisp. That's what the green bags will do. All right. So now, all right. So now I'm gonna put that to the side. And I'm taking my. So if you have a really big pan, like a big and deep cast iron skillet, you could add everything to that. It'll hold up. But you see the skillet that I have now, I'll just show you. Come, we're going over to the other camera. So this skillet is big enough for what I've got in it right now. But if I were to add the sweet potato and the farro and the greens, we're talking about being up higher, right? So instead, I'm going to pour everything into this skillet, into this butter lined pan. Can you see? Ta-da! I lined it with a little bit of butter or olive oil. What did I use olive oil. And now I'm going to put everything in. So I'm going to start with this farro and the sweet potato. I'm going to get everything in here. Mix it all up, taste it, season it if I need to. The rice was already salted. The farro's already been salted. The only thing I'm worried about, I'm not having any flavor and maybe sucking out the flavor from all of this yumminess is the greens. The greens haven't been seasoned at all. So I might just do a little something to that, because the thing is, if you don't like salt every layer of your dish, the one dish without any flavor will soak up all the flavor in it and it won't taste as great. So I'm gonna turn this off.
Elizabeth is cooking my style. She's got a glass of wine. That is my style of cooking. Yes.
Mine too. I drank mine earlier. Drank Fiona's earlier. So I have mushrooms and the celery, and everything is going into my casserole dish. Oven proof. But yeah, this is even easier if you have like a pot that's big enough and oven proof that you can just pop in the oven when all is said and done. Okay, and now I'm gonna mix it together. And I'm going to taste it to see how the flavors taste before I add the greens. And then why I'm adding the egg to bind it. But are there any vegans on the line with us, or people who prefer a vegan diet and don't eat animal products like eggs and honey and stuff like that? Anybody? I learned if you are vegan, you can still make this. You can either, oh my God, you can either omit the egg altogether, or you can use the juice from a can of chickpeas. I'm at the other camera. Hi. You use the juice from a can of chickpeas and beat that, and that creates like a froth, and that is a binding liquid that works really well. So I'm gonna bring this over to the other camera, salt it,
People also,
and then we're gonna go ahead.
Isn't flaxseed some kind of
Yep.
binder? Isn't there some form of
It
flaxseed?
is.
Yeah.
It is flax seeds directly. You can add a little bit of water to flaxseed and it will start to gel on you. That works really well. I'm adding a little bit of salt. A little bit of olive oil too.
Imani, hopefully you'll be able to pass the recipe on to your sister-in-law. Maybe she'll give it a try. Imani's mentioning that her sister-in-law is vegetarian or vegan. God bless her if she's vegan. That is such a commitment. And yeah,
It really is.
she would love this.
Look. Oh, this looks so pretty, y'all. Look at the green. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm gonna mix it. I'm gonna taste it, and then I'm gonna beat up my egg with a little bit of vegetable broth or vegetable stock for some moisture, so this doesn't completely dry out in the oven. Ooh, this is pretty. Look at that. Doesn't that look like Thanksgiving? I love sweet potatoes and things. Okay.
So Roseanne, are you making this recipe with us this evening?
I am actually, but I'm several steps behind you. I was hoping to prep some of it in advance, but I didn't get around to it.
Well, that's okay. You can always let us know next week. Out. Yeah.
Yeah. And where are you? How's it going? Can we support you in any way?
Yeah. Do you have any questions, Roseanne? Or
No,
you
I wanted. What kind of greens did you use for the stuffing?
She's using spinach.
I have spinach. I'm using
And what temperature are you baking?
She let me.
She keeps reminding me that she's eating all my food for this class, but we're gonna move past this, right? What temperature should the oven be on to bake the stuffing? Let's go to the recipe. Let's see.
That's a good point. Let me put it on. What does it tell you? I think the same for, isn't it still into at 425? Let's put it at 375. And let me put a note to add that, to change that. 375.
And then how long should it bake?
For 20 to 25 minutes, covered. And then you can take it off. You could remove it from the foil and then bake it a little bit longer if you want it to have like a crunchy topping on top. Like if you want the top to get a little crunchy, you can do that. Yeah, but like I said, it's edible right now. I'm gonna go ahead. In fact, it's still edible. I'm gonna take a little bit out, and so you all can see me eat it and dance. And then I'm gonna put the rest in the oven.
I was gonna suggest that you take some out and give it to me.
both
that was
possible.
Gonna be my recommendation.
Right? I like it. Both are possible, Fiona. We can do both things. You're hilarious. You get to eat. All right. So I'm putting a cup. You want a cup? Yeah, you really want a cup because you want it to be moist and hold up in the oven for 20 and 25 minutes. So I have my egg here, and what I'm missing is a fork. I got my egg, and I'm gonna beat it, but I'm gonna take some out. All right, I'm going over to the pot. Come with me.
Oh, sorry, we've been at the pot.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we've been just staring at the stuffing. Imani, I'm hungry tonight, so I just left the camera on the stuffing.
I'm glad you ladies are in the same place doing this because
it's
Thanksgiving. You'll be able to enjoy the meal together. This is what the holiday is about. So
yes,
it's perfect.
I agree.
But seriously, I just left the camera on the stuffing because I'm just staring at it like, that looks good. It's not about you, Karen. We're looking at the stuffing.
Food. Hilarious. I love it. Right, this is good. So like I said, this is a dish that you can eat right now. It is ready for you. So to that point, I'm going to take a little bit out for me. And that's enough. I'll use this other bowl over here. So I don't want to drop anything. Okay, I'm gonna take some out. But yeah, you could eat this. This looks restaurant worthy, y'all. This is like something I would order at a restaurant. A nice farro bowl with mushrooms in it. I'm just giving Fiona and myself a little taste. And then we're gonna put this in the oven to bake. So I really want to see how this comes out. When I'm hoping the mixture of the vegetable broth and the egg will do is to bind it so that it sticks together like a stuffing. But it doesn't take away from the flavors at all. So good. I'm actually going to add some more thyme to the broth. So
do you all bang on your pot and on your things like that when you're cooking? I'm wondering if it's a cultural thing.
Caribbean thing?
Yeah, is that a cultural thing? Is that like a Caribbean
thing? What did I
thing?
just bang?
There's been banging all night, Karen, and you don't even know that it's happening. And so I'm wondering, do you all bang to get things off your spoon or something as you're cooking? Because I do it too, and I'm curious if it's like a universal cooking thing. Yes, Imani bangs. Roseanne, do you bang as you're cooking, like bang on your pot and bang?
I do, but it depends on the pot. There are certain pots that I have that are more fragile. Like I'm lucky enough to have a Le Creuset, and I don't bang or scratch that thing at all.
Yeah,
it costs too much money.
Right, but my other pots that are less fragile, I bang them all the time.
Okay, Tonya says she also bangs. It's
Absolutely.
Universal. Okay, is it? My gosh, I don't know what's happening. It worries me though. Karen, where are we?
We are. You are about to watch me eat this.
I am about to come get my bowl.
And come get your bowl. Come get your bowl. So I want to show you how the flavors come out. So I've got the I got it in the oven. It is roasting at 375 degrees for 20 minutes. Fiona, please set the timer for 20. We'll see where it is. And I took out everything before I added the egg to it so that I could taste it. And I'm going to taste it right now. I have to stand up so I can dance. The dancing doesn't happen if I'm not standing. So I gotta do it again. Yes, this is so good, y'all.
I still think this is cool. Even though I know I'm going to get some, I still have to watch her eat this while I am locked in the bedroom, not able to eat.
Literally, the door is closed.
This is still pretty cool. But it's okay. I know it's coming.
It's good. It's really good, you guys. I'm so glad I came up with that. And fennel. It's my new favorite spice to cook with.
That sounds really good. Miriam is asking about adding cranberries or raisins. I like that. I like adding the sweetness to it. I like sweetness.
I didn't think about that, but I love cranberries and stuffing.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I've never had cranberries and stuffing before, but yeah, do that.
Elizabeth, how is your stuffing coming along? Have you gotten a taste of your stuffing yet, Elizabeth? Thank you for writing in the chat since your mic isn't working. And Yvette, did you get that pumpkin chopped up safely? I love that you're roasting it from scratch, by the way. It's gonna just amp up the flavor.
It
of
really
that
is.
soup.
Elizabeth said she had a taste and it's yum.
Yay.
Yay! Right? I love this. My new favorite thing. Next time I would add more mushrooms.
Oh, Elizabeth is gonna add raisins. Perfect.
Mmm. Yeah, so good. Raisin cranberries.
How about adding nuts? Would that be helpful?
You read my mind. I was just thinking nuts could be really good in this too. Could be like a salad.
I think walnuts. I would like walnuts.
Walnuts.
Almonds.
What
Or
kind
almonds.
of
I was thinking almonds.
Yeah, I love walnuts. I would add toasted walnuts to it. Because I'm thinking of it as a salad as well, and I love walnuts in a salad.
Same.
Really,
this could easily be a warm salad.
Food for you too.
It's a what?
It's a good brain food.
Brain food, yeah, of course. It looks like a brain.
It does.
That's why it looks like a brain. That's not why it looks like a brain, but it does.
Elizabeth is going to add dates. That's nice. A more natural sweetener, yeah.
Yeah.
Than the cranberry. Well, at least in the cranberries. A lot of cranberries are sweetened since they're so sour. So.
What about? Can you add dry cranberries, or is that bad? Are those just?
Well, it's funny that I was just thinking cranberries because dried cranberries are often sweetened.
Yeah.
So, So you just have to be mindful of the sugar content. So definitely read your labels. And what's nice is that now on labels, they've broken out the natural sugar in the food from the added sugar. So it's always the added sugar that we really want to be mindful of. I mean, of course, we want to be mindful of our overall sugar intake, but our bodies know how to process the natural sugar a bit better than all the added. So Karen, what's next?
Nothing. We wait.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've seen me eat it. It tastes delicious all by itself. And in a few minutes, I'll be able to take it out the oven. So I'm here. We belong to you now. So we want to see how you're coming along, how we can assist you, what else you've got going on, what folks are doing for Thanksgiving. Basically, we're here for you. I kind of wish I had a glass of wine.
Yvonne did post a question in the chat, Marissa, that I think is for you about finding more recipes on WorkWell.
Sure. Sorry, like a weird noise there. Yes, we have all the recipes, from the last series as well, and we're working on getting them all on our website. Hopefully that will be done within a few weeks or so. But if you want to reach out to us directly, we can always, share what we have for now. If you're dying to get cooking.
Yeah.
But just so at the end of this series, everyone who signed up for the sessions will receive video as well as the recipes from these 4 weeks of sessions. They all sound delicious, and I know I want to make them. Can't be the only one.
This stuffing is really, really good. I love the farro. Like, I really do like the chewiness of it. Yeah.
It's my favorite thing. I don't even cook rice anymore, y'all. Everything goes with farro. I just do that for everything. And I'm so glad Fiona said the thing about banging in the kitchen. I had no idea. That's just the sounds that I'm used to. Like, it's just always banging things.
Well, you've been hearing me banging all along.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
Who is that?
Yes, I'm ready.
Roxanne.
There we go.
Roseanne, what are you banging around? What did you make?
I'm sauteing my mushrooms and celery and onions. And
Yay!
I'm banging the side of my saute.
Right? You need to get all the stuff off of it. I get it.
Exactly. I had onion stuck to it. So that won't do.
That won't do at all. It's very necessary. Very cool. People are saying happy Thanksgiving. Claudia's leaving. Bye, Claudia. You're welcome. Be well too.
Oh, I have a general question, actually. Sure. Where I noticed the way you were chopping the spinach, and it was very impressive. I do not know how to do that. I don't have any really good skills in that area. So how can you develop those, you know, skills with using a chef's knife and chiffonading and all that sort of thing?
So you picked up on that. That was exactly what I was doing, a chiffonade technique where I roll the spinach and then cut it. So Fiona and I are going to be teaching knife skills in class. Like, it'll be a class that you can sign up for with she and I, and we'll walk you through the steps of certain cuts and dices that'll really help you feel even more confident in the kitchen. And other than that, though, in our classes, we try to show you techniques here and there. And if you're in the middle of doing a chop yourself, I can kind of guide you as you go along, Roseanne, if you're able to point your camera at your cutting board. If that's something you want to do.
At the moment, I just finished chopping up my parsley, but I will definitely ask next time.
Yeah, ask next time.
Thank you.
So for sure, no problem at all. But I can tell you this: what I do is, I really didn't walk you through it at all. What I do is I lay all the greens on top of each other, and then I roll it into like a loose cigar situation shape, and then I slice it. I put a couple of slices in it throughout on what's called a bias, basically on an angle. And I slice it like that. And if you all you want to do is create these ribbons, you're done at that point. You lift them up and they're these long strands, really beautiful. Great for salads and things. Because I was putting it into this dish where, you know, I want a bite full and I want to be able to eat the whole bite without having pieces falling from my mouth, I opted to then take the chiffonade slice. Once I chiffonaded everything, then I chopped it. I just went back and forth with my knife to chop it so that everything is just like in little chunks, little bite-sized pieces. So that's how we did that. But yeah, next time we do that, I'll slow down for you.
Thank you. That's great. I actually put Swiss chard into a soup, and I found a recipe. I think it was on the Times website, Times cooking website, and it was in these long pieces, and it was a good soup, but that texture,
it didn't work.
Cans of spaghetti. That was really not acceptable.
And not just that, I learned after I made a recipe similarly where I left the strands whole. And I think it was one of our cooking classes, and somebody said, oh, the child was trying to eat it, was having a hard time, and was like almost like choked. And I was like, okay, choking hazard, definitely cut the strands.
Definitely not
so ever since then, I'm more thoughtful about when the strands make sense and when it doesn't. And so when you want to, it doesn't always make sense. But they're pretty, so I see why folks
they are pretty.
You could also use that technique just for cutting certain herbs too, so that you can have the pretty little herbs in your dishes. Not as long.
But still, parsley does.
Basil's really good for that. You can roll it and then cut it in that way. So Yvonne mentioned that one of her issues is herbs and spices combinations. She tends to overdo it. Will we be doing something in the kitchen in the future to address this? Can I tell you, did you all notice how quiet I was for a while? Like, I was not talking at all because that stuffing was so good. Now that I'm done, I'm back.
So spices, will we do anything with spices and herbs? Not as a standalone, but it's something that we might offer as a class if folks are interested in it, because we love putting together spice blends, teaching folks how to do that on their own with spices that they have in their own cabinet, as opposed to buying pre-made spice blends. And I make an herb salt that I love making. I love combining different fresh herbs into it. So there's definitely ways that we can play with spices and herbs. If folks are interested, we could turn that into a class.
I think that's because
what?
some of the pre-mixed spices and herbs have things that I'm allergic to, so I need to be able to.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. We could definitely help with that, with giving you some, recommendations for a spice mix that you can make on your own using the things that you enjoy and the things that don't cause you harm.
And it tastes
Very
so
possible.
much better when you make your own. So much better.
Definitely. You can make your own green seasoning and put it in the freezer. And that could be what you add to different dishes when you're making them to make it easier for you to cook on the fly, especially on a weeknight like tonight. YouTube videos. You're gonna do what to YouTube videos, Elizabeth?
She's looking for tips on cutting herbs.
Good. Okay, cool. Easy.
YouTube is great for that. There's so much out there.
There's so much out there. We've got some videos out there too. On herb salt? We do actually.
If you guys do a class, that would be better.
A class? You'd come to a class if we held one? We can do that. Meanwhile, since they're going to YouTube to look for videos anyway, Fiona, would you point them to where they would go to find our YouTube videos? They're public, right?
Yeah, let me go and look for the, let me find them. And then I'll post the link to the chat.
Perfect. That would be great. Yeah, for another client in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, they asked us to create how-to videos for them to accompany their farm share that they've been offering to the public up until this week, in fact. And so we made a video on how to make herb salt just last week. We did one on how to puree pumpkins and other squashes and things and what to use them for. We made cucumber water. We have a couple. We have about 8 or so videos, maybe 10. In any event, we invite you to take a look, and if you've got videos that you want us to do that aren't on there, please let us know that too, and we'll be happy to see what we can add to our library, our growing library.
So this is actually, this is actually the Beautifully Fed Food YouTube channel, Imani, but I'm sure WorkWell will one day have a YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that at some point. And you all will get to meet another member of our team, Maya. She does these videos as well.
Can you see? So there's still some more liquid in there.
Hold on one second, Karen. I was just responding to the chat. Hold on.
No worries. I want to taste this. Are we there now?
Yeah, we're looking at it.
So you see there's still a little bit of liquid there. So I can either let it continue to cook so that liquid cooks off. In fact, that's probably what I'll do. You also have the option to just drain that off if you wanted to. I'm still gonna take the taste because I'm me and I never miss out an opportunity to taste the food. And what I notice is already from the egg, it's bound together. So it is like a stuffing, y'all.
We can't see you, Karen. I don't know if
you can't see me. Okay.
You.
I'm coming to the other camera.
Yep.
Hold on. La.
So did it change the taste at all? The egg? Did you? Yeah, the egg wasn't in there when we had it. So did the egg and the stock do anything?
It made it more. The texture is softer now, and also still the chewiness from the farro. So it's slightly different, but the flavors are still all like they were. And it's just really it was nice to kind of sink my teeth into because it's soft, like a stuffing. It felt like a stuffing. So it was a good experience. I enjoyed it. Try it. Oh, it's missing the crunch. So now I put it back in the oven. If I wanted to, I could put it on broil and get if your broiler is like at the top and get it to kind of crunch at the very top. That's something you should consider doing. But it's really, really, really tasty. In fact, I'm gonna take it out and have you all look at it up close and personal. It's pretty.
Which camera will you go to, Karen?
I'm traveling, so wait a second. I'm going to I'm gonna put it on here. Voila. The end. Is anybody else done cooking? Can we see you on your camera, maybe?
Alicia, were you cooking along with us? I know you posted a couple times in the chat.
Karen, can you tilt it towards the camera so we can see it at the top? Oh, yeah.
That looks so good.
Right? Yay. I'm so excited, y'all. It came out really good. It smells like stuffing. Yep. We're ready to rock and roll. The end. Now it looks like stuffing. Yes, I agree, Marissa. Now you've been beautifully fed, people. Enjoy. Have a happy Thanksgiving taking.
Yeah, have a wonderful holiday.
Yes, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe. Be blessed.
Healthy, as well fed.
Yeah, be beautifully fed.
We'll see you next week.
And we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Okay. Good night, everybody.